All right, today we are diving deep. We are going to crack the code on how to build a cutting edge digital bank right in the heart of one of the world's most exciting financial markets, the United Arab Emirates. Now, this isn't just some simple how to guide. Think of it as a strategic blueprint for success in a place where digital finance is, well, it's absolutely exploding. So let's jump right in.
So, first question, why the UAE? Simple. It's kind of the perfect storm for fintech innovation. You've got massive government support pushing things forward, a population that grew up with digital technology, and smartphone use that's, through the roof, one of the highest on the planet. In a market like this, digital banking isn't just becoming an option. For a lot of people, it's becoming the only option that really matters.
And just stop and think about what that actually means for a second. For millions of people, their phone is their bank. It's not just a handy gadget, it's the main, most trusted way they manage their entire financial world. And that makes the mobile app the single most important battlefield for any financial company in the region.
Okay, so where do you even start with something this big? Well, you start at step one, the foundation. And believe me, getting these first couple of moves right is totally non-negotiable, because literally everything else you do is going to be built right on top of this.
This foundation really comes down to two main pillars. First, you have to be perfectly aligned with all the local regulations. And second, you have to decide exactly what your model is. I mean, are you the new digital wing of a big traditional bank? Are you a super agile neobank with no branches? Or are you a focused fintech company that does one or two things really, really well? So let's zoom in on that compliance piece. We are talking about living and breathing the rules set out by the Central Bank of the UAE. Things like know your customer and anti-money laundering checks. These aren't features you can just tack on at the end. No way. They have to be woven right into the DNA of your app from the very first line of code. It's not an add-on. It's the bedrock of the whole thing. Next up, you've got to decide, what is this app actually going to do? You need to define your services. You'll probably start with the basics, the things everyone expects, opening an account, moving money, paying bills. But then comes the big decision. Do you push into more advanced areas? Are you going to offer lending or maybe wealth management tools or get into complex stuff like cross-border payments? Okay, foundation is set. Now it's time to head down into the engine room. This is step two, the technical blueprint. These are the core tech decisions that are going to define your app's power, its flexibility, and of course, its security. One of the biggest decisions you'll make here is choosing something called a microservices architecture. So think of it like this. Instead of building your app like one giant solid statue, you build it with Legos. Each function, payments, account info, whatever, is its own separate independent block. This gives you amazing flexibility. If you want to upgrade your payments block, you can just swap it out without having to tear down the entire app. It's a game changer. And that brings us to a really important point. A banking app cannot be an island. It just can't. To be even remotely useful, it has to connect seamlessly with the whole financial world around it. Integration isn't just a nice-to-have feature. It is quite literally a requirement for survival. Now, this connection happens through something called secure APIs. You can think of them as special digital messengers that let your app talk to all these other critical systems. We're talking about linking up with core banking platforms, payment gateways, credit bureaus, fraud detection engines. It's this complex, interconnected web, and your app has to sit right in the middle of it. Which leads us to what is, without a doubt, the single most important part of this whole conversation. You really have to let this sink in. Security is not just another box to check on a list. In the world of digital money, it is the absolute foundation that everything else, everything, is built on. So what does that foundation actually look like? Well, it starts with the must-haves: end-to-end encryption, multi-factor authentication. But the real shift, the thing that's changing everything, is moving to a zero-trust model. See, the old way was kind of trust but verify. Zero trust flips that on its head. It assumes threats are everywhere. Inside your network, outside, it doesn't matter. So every single access request gets intensely verified before it's approved. The motto is simple: never trust, always verify. So we've talked about the rules, and we've talked about the code. Now let's talk about the part the customer actually sees and feels. Step 3 is all about the user experience, or UX. Because, let's be real, you could have the most secure, technically perfect app in the universe, and it would be completely useless if people hated using it. So I'll just ask you, what makes a digital banking app not just good, but unforgettable?
What makes you stick with one app over another? It's almost never just about the number of features, right? It's about how the app makes you feel when you use it.
And that feeling, that's the difference between good and bad UX. A great app just feels intuitive, it's fast, the dashboard is clean, and you get alerts that actually matter. A bad app, it's confusing, it's slow, it's cluttered, and you have to hunt for the simplest functions. This isn't just about making things look pretty. A great user experience is what gets people to use your app and builds that long-term loyalty. But here's the catch. A fantastic user experience today can become a massive headache tomorrow if you're not ready for success. An app that works beautifully for your first 1,000 users can't just fall apart when you hit 1 million. This gets us to scalability. Your app has to be built for day 1 and for day 1,000. And that means you have to make some really smart tech choices right from the get-go. Using cloud infrastructure gives you that crucial flexibility. A high availability design means your app doesn't crash during peak times. And automated scaling is the secret sauce. It means the system can automatically give itself more power when transaction volumes spike, all without a human having to lift a finger.
All right, you have planned, you have built, you have designed. Now for the final, crucial step. Actually getting your app out into the world and making sure it doesn't just survive, but thrives. This is step 4, launch and evolve. A successful launch, by the way, is almost never a single big bang moment. It's a really careful, deliberate process. You start with absolutely rigorous testing. Then you move to a phased rollout to minimize any risks. And once you're live, it's all about continuous monitoring to keep everything running smoothly, securely, and ahead of the competition. And when I say testing, I mean you have to test everything. Does every feature work? Can the app handle a massive load? And most importantly, is it secure? This even includes something called penetration testing. That's where you literally pay ethical hackers to try and break into your system just so you can find the weak spots before the bad guys do. So now that we've gone through all these steps, what's the one big idea you should walk away with? It's this. Building a great digital banking app is, at its core, a really delicate balancing act. It's this constant push and pull between different priorities that are all, frankly, non-negotiable. This is the fundamental challenge, right here. On one side of the scale, you have to have ironclad security and perfect compliance. There is zero room for error. But on the other side, you need a flawless, easy-to-use experience for your customers and the raw power to scale to millions of them. The companies that win in this space are the ones who master this balance perfectly. And that leaves us with one final thought. We've talked about code and rules and design, but in the end, all of it, every single bit, is there to do one thing: build and maintain trust. So as money keeps changing from a physical thing to just pure weightless data, the real question we're all facing is this: what is the future of trust itself?